Welcome to Janet's Planet, where we're traveling at the speed of thought. I am so delighted to be sharing with all of you today. And I want to tell you just a little bit about myself before we get started. I am the president and founder of Janet's Planet. For the last 24 years, I have been sharing space and science with students around the globe. It is my happiest of places. And so, if Mission Control will play a video, you'll see me blast off with Janet's Planet. So, I ask you to hop in your rocket and let's go.
To Janet's Planet, life in a far-out world. Let's go to Janet's Planet. She's an intergalactic girl. The Janet's Planet, let's go.
And pause, Mission Control. Now, here is what I want you to know. As we take this tour of the solar system, I am also a NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory solar system ambassador. I want you to know this, that as we zoom through the solar system, I want you to think of this, that there are tiny atoms of gold in your brain. What? That's right. We would not be able to move or talk or walk around if there weren't tiny atoms of gold in our brains. So think of it like this. Your brain is still the best supercomputer ever built. Not Chat GPT, but yes, you. And we know that all the gold ever created in our universe happened billions of years ago when these two neutron stars collided. So just know that you have something in common with the hearts of stars, that there are tiny atoms of gold inside of you. So we're going to think travel through our solar system. All right, Mission Control is going to start the rocket. And I want you to imagine that you can begin to feel the yee and the yaw of that rocket as we blast off. And if you can see, oh, yes, you'll feel like, imagine sitting there on the launch pad. And then all of a sudden you feel the rumble. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off. And within 8 minutes, 17,500 miles per hour. And we're going to start this tour with the star at the center of our solar system, the sun. It's a star like all the others in the night sky. It just happens to be much closer to us, 93 million miles. But you may go, oh, Janet, we're using kilometers, 143 million kilometers away. And get this, you can fit over 1 million Earths inside the sun. It takes 8 minutes for the light from the sun to reach us. And at its core, it is a toasty 27 million degrees Fahrenheit. And that is not our sound system messing up. It is actually the sampled sound of our sun. Listen to that. That is the vibrational sound of the star at the center of our solar system. Now, back in 2018, NASA sent the Parker Solar Probe to the sun, the first time that we've ever had the technology and the instrumentation that could withstand the heat and the radiation coming from the sun. Its mission? To discover what is up with this solar wind. Exactly why is the sun's corona hotter than the actual surface? And exactly how does what happens on the sun affect weather throughout our solar system? Consider this, we are in a time of solar maximum, going into the last year of this 11-year cycle. Every 11 years, the sun goes through these solar minimums and solar maximum. And recently here in the United States, we had an amazing solar eclipse where we literally could see these beautiful loops of plasma during totality. It was magnificent. Now, of course, these right here are solar flares. They happen in huge magnetic regions on the sun when immense amounts of energy is suddenly released. NASA caught this picture of the sun smiling at us, and those darkest regions are basically the most active regions on the sun. That was taken almost a year ago. All right, but if we continue going, let's imagine this. You're answering from home. Put your great brains to work. The sun, the star at the center of our solar system, is A, 93 million miles away from Earth, or B, is a planet, or C, is going to go supernova one day. Let me hear you. Which one are you choosing? Which one is the correct answer? And if I said 143 million kilometers, that's exactly right. I know here in the States we still use miles. Now, here is what we're going to do next. Pause that for me just a moment, Mission Control. And here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Remember, I told you have tiny atoms of gold in your beautiful, amazing brains. Try this for me. Tap on the sides of your temples. Shake your heads just a bit and wake that brain up. Because here's what I want you to know. Your alive and awake brain can light up a light bulb. What? It would hurt if we could plug it in. But again, it's amazing amount of energy. So I'm going to invite you to think travel. And so again, start this. Mission Control, you can ignite those engines again and we can fast forward. But I want everybody out there. Let's make this image move. And here we go. We're floating all the way to Mercury from the sun. Mercury is the first planet in our solar system. And what I want you to remember about Mercury is that Mercury was named after the Roman messenger of the gods because it's so speedy and quick as it orbits the sun. Consider this, if orbits were racetracks, Mercury would win every single time because it is orbiting the sun at over 100,000 miles an hour. Whew, are you exhausted? I would be. Now, here's the other weird thing though. It is turning so slowly on its axis that actually a sidereal day on Mercury is 59.5 Earth days. I know, its day is almost as long as its year. And in the daytime, it gets almost to 800 degrees Fahrenheit. At nighttime, minus 290 degrees Fahrenheit. Yikes, super cold. But again, it's like its rotation is super slow, giving it a very, very long day, and its orbit is super fast. Its year, just 88 days. But the first time that we'd ever even seen Mercury was when Mariner 10 flew by back in the 1970s. We noticed that it was cratered, possibly some past volcanic life on it. And since then, we've sent other messenger. And then the European Space Agency now has a spacecraft headed there called Bepi Colombo. And you might go, but why do we care? And I would say because understanding the other planets in our solar system help us to better understand our place in the Goldilocks zone of our star. All right, so if you're answering questions out there, Mercury was named after A, the Roman god of war because it's hot on Mercury, B, the Roman messenger of the gods because it's so speedy and quick as it orbits the sun, or C, the Roman goddess of fortune. If you were listening, I know you know the right answer. What is the right answer? Shout it out if you know it. Point to it. Let me know you know it. That's right. The Roman messenger of the gods because it's so speedy and quick as it orbits the sun. Now, here's where we're going to pause, Mission Control. Maybe you learned or are learning the planets as something like, my very eager mother just served us nachos. Now, technically, your generation has 8 official planets. Back in my day, it was my very eager mother just served us 9 pizzas because we considered Pluto to be one of the major planets. I'm still a little upset that it is no longer considered a planet, but if we take those very first letters of each of those words, my very, V stands for Venus, and I'm going to need your help in us think traveling there because there is another 30 million miles or so from Mercury to get to Venus. Put your fingertips here and help me think travel. Come on, Mission Control. Let's put it into high gear and move that needle. We need to travel to this next planet. Oh, you guys are good. I see you moving the needle. Oh, and would you look at there? I know sometimes people shout out when they first see this and go, Mars. It does kind of have that same sort of color, but Venus was named after the goddess of love and beauty, truly exquisite, and it is considered our morning and evening star, the brightest object in our sky other than our sun or our moon, mainly because it is densely covered in clouds. But get this, before we go into that part, Venus is considered Earth's sister planet. Look at it. From the radius to the mass to the density to the gravity, it is super similar to Earth. But Again, if you were to encircle your head and kind of like wrap your arms and do this right here, you would discover that Venus is covered in these two dense layers of clouds. And scientists believe that that is caused by the release of sulfur dioxide gas from all of the volcanoes on Venus. And you guys, the Russians, actually sent spacecraft to Venus, and the longest that any of these spacecraft ever lasted, they did get some great data. It was less than 2 hours. But let's go back to those two dense layers of clouds. Here's what happens and why Venus shines back so brightly and reflects light so brightly in our night sky. As the sunlight hits it, those clouds reflect the light back. And did I mention that it rains acid on Venus? Ouch! My spacesuit would melt, my skin would melt. Yeah, and it's hot on Venus, almost 890 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's 90 times more the pressure at sea level than it is here on planet Earth. So my lungs would crush, there'd be raining acid, and it's too hot. So you might go, well, what is the point? Well, the point is actually that we can discover a lot about extreme global warming and maybe what to avoid here on planet Earth. Are there any lessons we can glean from this very, very hot planet? Now, we have discovered phosphine in the upper atmosphere of Venus. One day, scientists and some other visionaries even think that we might be able to live in cloud cities, that the upper atmosphere of Venus might be stable enough for, I don't know, like cloud condos or something. Again, it's marvelous to think about and sound science fiction, but what do we know? A lot of times science fiction turns into science reality 50 to 100 years from now. But let's take this little trivia test. Who was listening here? I've said lots of things. All right, mission control, let's see this question. Venus is covered in A, sandy beaches, B, craters, or C, volcanoes. Who remembers what the answer might be? Remember, it's that sulfur dioxide release that might cause that dense cloud cover. You are correct. Volcanoes on Venus. Yep. That sounds incredibly too hot. I am kind of like, I like it warm, but not crazy. Oh, and what is this beautiful blue ball? Yes, home to all of us Earthlings. All right, here's what I want you to do. Put your fingertips on the sides of your temples and help me think travel all the way to this planet. Remember, you're traveling in my Janet's Planet rocket. Let's go another 30 million miles or so. Come on, put your best thoughts out there. Your amazing supercomputer brain, all of that genius. As we take a look at this beautiful blue ball, home to all of us, currently almost 8 billion people, in your lifetimes, you might see that number go up to 9 to 11 billion. So how do we be kind to one another, make peace with one another, provide and make shelter for one another? Because here's what I want you to do. Everybody, put your elbow in your palm and tilt your hand about 23.5 degrees. Right now, we're tilted at 23.5 degrees on our axis. If we were tilted any more toward the sun, we would burn up. Tilted any further away, we would live constantly the whole planet on a frozen tundra. Tilted exactly at 23.5 degrees on our axis. And even though you can't feel it, we're going, depending on where you are on the planet at any given moment, anywhere from 800 to 1100 miles per hour. And that rotation on our axis, which takes 24 hours, is what gives us our day and night. But as we're rotating on our axis, we're also orbiting the sun at over 67,000 miles an hour. It's like we're living on spaceship Earth. And so the invitation is that this beautiful, precious planet where we don't need a spacesuit to walk about and to experience all the beauty that is on this planet is here and is ours. And so again, this marvelous, marvelous place is 70% water. Again, 80% of all life lives in our lakes, rivers, streams, and oceans. We have explored space more than we have explored our deepest oceans. And we're the only planet to have this kind of amazing, exquisite biodiversity, meaning there could be life out there. In fact, I hope there is life out there. That's why we look for water on the moon. That's why we look for water on Mars, because water is life. And if we find it in frozen form on the moon, we've got life support as well as a fuel source. We find it on Mars in frozen carbon dioxide. We can separate it out. We've got life support and a fuel source. But here is where the good stuff is. This precious planet. Oh, that we could learn how to love and be at peace with one another. Protect this beautiful world that gives us so many options to enjoy for all creatures, great and small. Like I said, I do hope there is life out there beyond us, but it's so far away. Will we ever find out? So let's do all that we can to protect our planet. Now, many years ago, of course, we just celebrated Yuri's Night, and then April 12th, and you guys had Yuri Gagarin go to space.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth.
We choose to go to the moon
in this decade and do the other thing. Not because they're easy, but because they're hard. Humans love hard things, and, the Russians with Yuri Gagarin, that first cosmonaut in space, happened on April 12, 1961. And by the end of the decade, on July 16, 1969, Apollo 11 is launching from the Kennedy Space Center. On board, Michael Collins, Neil Armstrong, and Buzz Aldrin. As they neared, that lunar lander neared the surface, they realized that it's like that the onboard computer was steering them dangerously close to the crater. Neil Armstrong puts it in manual control. Mission control is going, what's happening? And with 20 seconds of fuel left.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Now, it would take him hours before he would don the suit, open that hatch, climb down that ladder, and say these very famous words.
Step off the land now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Now, they would spend hours on the moon. 12 men have walked on the moon so far. Hopefully in our lifetimes we'll see people return to the moon and even onto Mars. But listen right now to what some Apollo astronauts had to say about their experience from space.
In Earth orbit, the horizon is just slightly curved. When you head on out to the moon, that horizon slowly curves around and upon itself, and all of a sudden you're looking at something that is very strange, but yet is very, very familiar.
Oh my God, look at that picture over there. Wow, is that pretty?
You can put your thumb up, and you can hide the Earth behind your thumb. Everything that you have ever known, all behind your thumb.
Not any bigger than that, way up there.
It's really beautiful. You can cry.
Imagine you can hide the entire world, our whole world, behind your thumb way up there. But they were the Apollo generation. You are the Artemis generation, and NASA has a message for all of you.
50 years ago, we went to the moon. We called it Apollo.
What many people don't know is that Apollo had a twin.
She was a woman named Artemis, goddess of the moon.
We are returning to the moon
as a new generation of explorers. This time to stay.
And to prepare to achieve humanity's next giant leap of sending the first human missions to Mars.
We believe our course will redefine what is possible.
That we would discover life-saving,
earth-changing science.
And that the challenges ahead will inspire generations.
This is our manifest.
For all who wondered if we could return.
For all who dreamed of pressing beyond.
This is your calling.
We go for all of America.
We go. We go as the Artemis Generation.
We go.
Who among you wants to go? And maybe one of you out there will be the first to walk on Mars. Now, Christina Cook will be the first female to orbit the moon. Victor Glover will be the first person of color to orbit the moon no earlier than 2025. And if anybody out there loves Minecraft, you might want to play this game.
And how we get there. and launching a new era of space exploration. We will need engineers and designers to build rockets. We will need scientists and artists to imagine new ways to live in space. We need you, the Artemis Generation. Get ready for liftoff.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Liftoff.
And where I think it's funny, this is free to play. The exact address will play here just a moment. Minecraft is the only place I know that the moon is square, but it is free with Minecraft education, and you can find it right there. But if my friend Robert Howard Jr. has his way, he's been working his entire career to get humans back to the moon. By the end of the decade, there will be humans on the moon. The first female, the first person of color, not only using the moon as a place to do research, but learning how to thrive. The moon will literally become a future training ground for how we work and thrive on Mars. So imagine all of my future astronauts or space explorers out there, how we're going to get there. But let's take this. Earth is the only place we know to have A, puppies, B, cats, C, humans, or D, all of the above. Now, I'm not sure this is a trick question or not, but I would be very interested in the YouTube chat or wherever you're watching this to tell me. Now, some would think all of the above, but I will tell you that some very smart children have told me C, humans, because we can only hope that there are space cats and space dogs out there. Now, as we continue to travel, put your fingertips here. Remember to ignite that beautiful brain of yours with those tiny atoms of gold. Let's think travel. We got about 50 million miles to go from Earth to get to Mars. Here we go. All right, the beautiful red planet. I need all of your grand thought power. Oh, I feel it all the way across the globe. Now, Sojourner Truth was about the size of a briefcase. Spirit and Opportunity, actually named by a little Russian girl. Curiosity, which was about the size of a small SUV, and then Perseverance landed in February 2021, along with the helicopter Ingenuity, which flew 72 flights before it broke its rotor. Now, if I were to ask you to do this, I want you to pretend like you have the continents of the globe and get rid of the oceans and crumple all of those continents up into one ball, and that would be the size of Mars. I want it to be bigger. It just isn't. It is the second smallest planet, and it was named after the Roman god of war because we associate the color red with war. And there is tons of iron oxide and rust in Martian soil, so thus it is named Mars. It is home to the tallest volcano in all of our solar system, Olympus Mons. It's about 16.5 miles high, 3.5 times taller than our Mount Everest. It also has a Grand Canyon, much like the Grand Canyon in the US, only it's 4 times deeper and 10 times longer than our Grand Canyon. A year on Mars is 687 days. A day on Mars is 24 hours and 39 minutes, roughly. What could I do with that extra 39 minutes? And dust storms can last for months on Mars. It's what actually took out Spirit and Opportunity. Eventually dust and it never came off so that their solar panels could charge again. So really, Mars is the only planet to be inhabited only by rovers. Now, when Perseverance landed back in February of 2021, it landed in a place called Jezero Crater. Its mission to look for ancient signs of life or fossilized life, any microbial life. Is there anything living? And where better to look than an old ancient riverbed? It is currently caching samples, and even now as I speak, there's an article out today that sample return mission is on the chopping block. People have to figure out a way to get those samples here earlier. We want it before 2040. We want people on Mars in the 2030s and no later than 2045. I truly believe you will see this in your your lifetime. But again, we'll have to partner with partners around the globe to get those samples back to Earth. Hopefully, you guys will be the ones inspecting them as researchers and going, oh my gosh, we should totally go to Mars. But let's think of it like this. Mars is the only planet to be inhabited only by A, rovers, B, aliens, or C, Elon Musk. I mean, that's possible too. But what do you think? I know you know the answer to this. And yes, it is rovers. Even the rovers have not seen any aliens there. So I think it's safe to say. Now, if I were to ask you what is next, and you guys go, wait a minute, what is in between the inner planets and the outer planets? And what did you say? Oh, that's right, asteroid belt. So help me think travel to the asteroid belt. And again, here we go. And here's what I like to kind of share with everyone, or a way to think about the asteroid belt, that it's just basically the leftover remnants of when the solar system was forming. At least that's what most astrophysicists believe. And there's a huge gap called Kirkwood Gap. Some of these asteroids are tiny, like a grain of sand. Some are huge, like Ceres. That's the largest asteroid in the asteroid belt, once considered a planet, now a dwarf planet, much like Pluto. But last year, March, this was so exciting. Everybody grab your fist and your palm and punch your hand like that. What happened? Yeah, punch it again. What happened in March of last year, NASA had a mission called DART, the Double Asteroid Redirection Test. And basically they wanted to see if they crash landed a spacecraft into an asteroid, could they move its trajectory? Lo and behold, they did by 18 degrees. So that's good news if anything ever starts heading towards us. But maybe one of my favorite missions to land in October 2020 was OSIRIS-REx on an asteroid called Bennu. And when it landed, what happened is it shot out nitrogen, and when that nitrogen basically kind of helped some of that debris on the surface get dislodged, then it vacuumed up that debris that it had loosened. And as it kind of picked up from the asteroid, scientists were really worried they would not get enough of a sample. Truth is, they got too much. But eventually, 3.5 days later, they would get the lid shut and it would be on its way home. Now, it would take it from 2020 to last fall in 2023 to arrive. And as it was careening back in, you got to remember, our atmosphere acts like a big brake. Feeling about 5,000 degrees on the outside there. And then by the time the parachutes deploy, it's only going about 20 miles an hour. And then you will hear all the technicians announce.
Confirmation of touchdown.
So we have touchdown. I repeat, EDL. FRC has touchdown.
EDL is just NASA talk for entry, descent, and landing. Now that sample sits at the Johnson Space Center, where, again, just a couple of weeks ago, they revealed some of its contents inside that asteroid sample. Magnesium, calcium, other trace amounts of minerals. So again, more will be released soon, I am certain. But let me ask you a question about the asteroid belt. It is a silly, that's a bit rude, made up of the leftover remnants of when the solar system was forming, or C, a cosmic highway. I know you were listening, so the answer, of course, is shout it out if you know it, or put it in the chat. Look at there, how smart you are. That is right, made up of the leftover remnants of when the solar system was forming. Now, as we continue on out to the big gas giants, let's take a look at this next one. What is that big one that is situated, probably even protects us from things hitting us? Yep, you said Jupiter, so let's think travel there. From the asteroid belt, you've got it's interesting. You can almost apply the golden ratio to the distances in between the things in our solar system, because Jupiter is 484 million miles away from the sun. And again, it is so humongous. It probably really protects us. It's named after the king of the Roman gods, again, because it is so massive. And consider it like this, that if we could fit 11 Earths across the front of Jupiter and still have room to spare. It's 2/3 the mass of everything in our solar system. But you can stand on the inner planets. They've got solid surfaces, but not Jupiter. It is primarily made of hydrogen and helium. If you've ever kind of like sucked the air out of a helium balloon, and then your voice kind of sounds funny like that. Again, hydrogen and helium, but it is not going through nuclear fusion. That red spot is a great storm, much like a hurricane with 400-mile-per-hour winds. Consider this, the largest or kind of most intense kind of winds we get are maybe 150, 175 miles per hour. And what the Juno mission, if you're interested, you can go to nasa.gov/Juno to see what all of the pictures they've taken. There are crimson-colored clouds down deep within this storm. 27,000 miles long this thing is, and there's even a little red spot beginning to populate, which scientists believe is another storm that is beginning to emerge on Jupiter. So how exactly are these processes happening? Why are these processes happening? And maybe most of all is fun is that Jupiter now has the most moons, 95. That would be interesting to look up and be able to count that many moons. Ganymede is, of course, the largest moon of Jupiter and the largest moon in our entire solar system. But Europa, they had just determined, could have enough oxygen for 1 million people. So maybe one day, if we're not living on Mars, we might be living on Europa. All right, here's a big question for you. Jupiter's great red spot is A, Jupiter's Wi-Fi signal. B, planet Acme. No, that doesn't sound right. Or C, a storm much like a hurricane that's been going on for hundreds of years. This one I believe is obvious. And let me hear you shout it out. Oh, and type it in. Good work. Awesome. That's right, a storm. And again, in this sort of kind of like discovery of everything in our solar system, it is really amazing. Jupiter's position, where it is and how large it is, could literally protect us from comets, asteroids, and other things. So there's this beautiful kind of interconnectivity and exchange of beautiful kind of things that I just love that this is the way our universe works in this kind of simpatico and beautiful symphony as we continue to orbit around our star. This beautiful planet, my favorite. And before we proceed, Mission Control, we can go ahead and think travel there while I tell you the story. You can put your fingertips there and we will travel. The reason Saturn is my favorite is because of a teacher named Miss Ernestine Yarborough Jones, my 5th grade teacher, who really is the reason I love the solar system. And my first ever essay about the solar system was about Saturn. So I think that's when I fell in love with it all, when I was 10 years old. Now, what the Cassini spacecraft discovered, and it basically did beautiful loop-de-loops in between the ring systems. And again, something to know is that they're in this beautiful kind of like jewel of our solar system. There's from ring A to ring H, there are divisions called Cassini divisions. And when the Cassini spacecraft was diving in between things, they noticed this weird phenomena in the innermost ring, and it was kind of raining, and they called it ring rain. They're not sure if the rings were simply shearing off debris or if actually there was going through some kind of process with the carbon that it might be raining diamonds in that innermost ring. Again, something for us all to continue to discover and look at. Saturn is the 2nd largest planet. 10 Earths could fit across the front of it. Some of you may be soccer players. You can take basically a soccer ball and then a small kind of nickel, an American coin. Saturn would be the size of the soccer ball. The nickel would be the size of planet Earth. So you can see kind of like the grand difference there. Now, another planet made of hydrogen, helium, other bits of ammonia and other gases. But again, this system of rings. Now, all the outer planets have faint rings, but Saturn's are the most pronounced and beautiful. And most likely, caused or made from remnants of old comets, moons, asteroids crashing into the planet. The gravity pulled them in as they disperse, and they're tiny to like as big as a mountain and half a mile across. And then Saturn's 87 moons actually shepherd those rings and keep them in orbit around the planet. That's kind of beautiful. It's like, again, those moons also have a purpose. 87 of them, though. And maybe perhaps my very favorite fact about Saturn is that if you could build a bathtub large enough, Saturn would float in it because it is less dense than water, because it's a gas. But as one of the most beautiful things to look at in our sky, I have to say it is still one of my favorites. If you ever get a chance to take a look at it through a telescope, I super encourage you to do so. All right, mission control. Let's see what that answer is. I want to see in the chat. Oh, look at you guys are so super smart. I see some other answers here. Saturn has beautiful rings and they are made of... Let's see, where are you listening? Billions of particles of ice, dust, and rock. B, dirty snowballs. What? C, peanut butter. Oh, that would be delicious. All right, what is the answer here? Oh, over there, I've got somebody saying A. Oh, yeah. I think you're funny because you said C. Fantastic. But indeed, billions of particles of ice, dust, and rock. Now, yes, is anybody want to shout out the name for this one? The somewhat unfortunately named planet, but we're going to get to that. That's right. It is Uranus. So help me think travel. Again, going back to that golden ratio from Saturn to Uranus is almost 1 billion miles. All right. Think travel. I just like doing that, tapping on my temples, feeling like my brain is all alive and awake and engaged. Now, Uranus, if everybody goes like this, kind of tilt to your side, it is tilted at literally 99 degrees on its axis. Most other planets look like little spinning tops as they orbit the sun, but not Uranus. It's as if something slammed into it and it's sort of laying on its side, breakdancing as it goes around the sun. So I like to think of it kind of laying on its side, doing the coffee grinder, breakdancing as it orbits. But anyway, just a fun way to remember how it is inclined on its on its axis. But get this, it is 20 astronomical units. Again, do the math, and you can do that by kilometers, 143 million kilometers times 20, and you would get exactly how far Uranus is away from its star. But if you look at my counter, how many years might it take for Uranus to orbit the sun? And would you look at there? 84 years, almost an entire Earth lifetime. Now, it was discovered by Sir William Herschel, and he wanted to name the planet, George's star, after King George III. But along comes a German astronomer going, nope, the planet Saturn was named for Jupiter's dad, so the planet after Saturn has to be named for Saturn's dad, and Saturn's dad's name was Caelus. What? Well, nobody thought that was a good planet name either, so they hop over to the Greek mythology for ancient god of the heavens, Uranos. Say that with me, Uranos. And somehow it came to be Uranus over time. But how cool would it be to look up and go, oh, look at Saturn and Venus, and there's George. That would be awesome. But again, it is named Uranus. I am sure that King George III was quite disappointed we couldn't call it George either. But here is a point of note. Sir William Herschel was a great brother. He was such a great brother. I know, King George, you're sad that it's not named George. Sir William Herschel was a great brother who taught his sister Caroline Herschel how to be an astronomer, and she is the first female to discover a comet. How about them apples? I know. So a great astronomer who wanted to name a planet George instead of Uranos. And so let's answer this question, shall we? About Uranus, Uranos, however you say it, was discovered by Sir William Herschel, and he wanted to name the planet A, Bluey. Have you seen that show? Quite cute. I love it. Ringo. Or C, George's star. Yeah, we could rename it Bluey. I like that comment. I think it's George's star. I'm still going to go for George. Anybody out there named George? I'm going to give you a fist bump. All right. Now, this next planet is technically the number 8. That's right, the 8th official planet. You can, we got another billion miles to go, so you might as well enjoy the ride and tap your temples so we can get there. This one I love, Neptune. Now, we can't always tell a lot about it. Voyager 2 flew by it, but we really haven't studied it that in-depthly. But we can tell a lot about something by the color that it radiates. And so that is a process in science called spectroscopy. And so again, we know that by its coloring, again, it's 30 astronomical units. Here are my mathematicians out there, do 30 times 143 million kilometers, you'll get the distance from the sun. It also takes 165 years to orbit the star at the center of our solar system. Whew, it's a long year. But again, when we think about like, why does it shine and reflect back blue light? We believe that is because there is an ocean of methane down deep within. But it also has something in common with Jupiter. It has a great blue spot. It has the fastest winds of all the planets, 1,200 miles per hour. So literally it would hit you with a sonic boom. And then it's like you probably would be coming, oh, there it goes. And you become an icicle and blow apart into bits at 1,200 miles per hour. Crazy, crazy speeds. Now again, we have only ever flown by it, but here is a theory. Remember, it's not a fact until it's proven, so it's just a theory. But some scientists theorize that it might rain diamonds on Neptune because of the way carbon forms in the upper atmosphere. Now, I don't want to stand on Neptune, and I don't want 1,200 mile per hour winds hitting me, but we might fly a spacecraft there with a little bucket and a robotic arm, scoop up some diamonds, come back and sell them. Who's with? Oh, my little friend down here is with me. All right, thanks, Olga. I'm with you. All right, now, Neptune has the fastest rings of all the planets. What? Winds of all the planets, or C, orbits of all the planets. Which one is it? All right. My little friend Koba, I know you've got the answers. You've been answering this whole time. I'm loving that you're online with me. That's right, winds of all the planets. So again, a marvelously diverse, interesting solar system. Now, please allow me to talk about the little planet that I love. I will say it's like Shakespeare, a planet by any other name, dwarf planet or not, is still a planet. Or anything not going through nuclear fusion, orbiting its star is still a planet, whether it's dwarf or not. But here are the stories I want to tell you. See this guy? His name is Clyde Tombaugh. When he was 18, he was going to go off to college and study astronomy. But the year that he was to attend college, his family's farm was hit and devastated by a terrible tornado and hailstorm. It was going to be impossible. Everything was destroyed, and he could no longer go to college or afford it. But instead, he built his own telescope out of old farm machine parts and the headlights off of his dad's old car. And so he began drawing what he was seeing and sending these pictures to the Lowell Observatory. And they're like, ooh, this kid is good. So with no college degree, night after night, he would look through something called a blink comparator, and after only 10 months on the job, observe something wobbly. Remember, stars are fixed points of light, planets wobble, and he discovers Pluto. No college education. And it was named by an 11-year-old girl named Venetia Burney Fair, whose papa worked for the Royal Astronomical Society. One morning at breakfast, she goes, Papa, I believe this newly discovered planet should be named after the god of the underworld because it's so far away and so difficult to see. So he goes off to his meeting where all the grown-ups, rock, 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 well, I don't know what we're going to name this planet, grouse, 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 grouse. And finally he goes, well, you know, my granddaughter believes that it should be named Pluto. And they were all like, sounds good to us. And that's how Pluto got its name, from an 11-year-old girl and discovered by a guy who had not completed his college education. So never think that you are too old or without enough education to have impact. If you are here breathing and alive, you are meant to make impact and to do good in this world. Now, Many people disagree with this, but I'm going to go on record. The International Astronomical Union, in the same year that New Horizons took off to fly by Pluto, decided that after 76 years in our solar system, we need to decide what makes a planet a planet. So then they go, well, and I'm not sure this is how they sound it, but because I disagree with them, I'm going to go on record as like, we need to decide what makes a planet a planet. Oh, first, let's see. Let's take another look at that list. Mission Control. A planet must be round. Well, Pluto's round. It has hydrostatic equilibrium. Okay, check. Number 2, a planet must orbit the sun. Pluto orbits the sun. It just happens to trade places with Neptune every 246 years. But if you were 3.4 billion miles away from your star, your orbit might be a little bit wobbly too. Again, remember, it is not going through nuclear fusion and it is orbiting a star. Sounds like a planet. But number 3 is where it falls apart. They said a planet must have enough mass to dominate the path in its orbit. What does that mean? It has to be large enough to knock anything out of its way. But little bitty Pluto, imagine this is little Pluto, and this is a big celestial object in its way. I'm a little planet out here on the edge of the sun. It's like, dun, dun, dun. Here's a large celestial object in its way, and it's like, hi. It can't move it, so it has to go around. And so again, there are many things out there in Pluto's orbit, so it can't really dominate the path in its orbit. So that's basically the reason why Pluto is no longer considered a major planet, but simply a dwarf planet. And if we think about it, it's not alone out there. It is, again, I think what I like to think about is that there are other things out there in that neighborhood where Pluto is. We've got Eris and Makemake and, can you name them? Oh, did somebody? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, Quoar. Good. Because again, it's just interesting to me the timing, because in that it was in August of 2006 that Pluto was demoted. But in this same year, go ahead, Mission Control. New Horizons, it was a beautiful, amazing spacecraft that I got to do outreach for. It was about the size of a baby grand piano. It set the highest launch speeds ever. And then about a year into its mission, it gets a humongous gravity assist from Jupiter. Now all of a sudden it's speeding through the solar system at about 51,000 miles per hour. And then finally, it took a long while to get there. 9 years, 5 months, and 25 days later, it flies by Pluto, revealing that it's got this heart on it. How can it not be a planet with a heart? That is actually called the Clyde-Tombaugh region. It has 11,000 feet ice mountains, a weird kind of plasma tail. So again, things are still being discovered. And that spacecraft continues to go further and further into the Kuiper Belt. And again, it flew by, Arakoth back in 2019. But again, just remembering that there's still so much we don't know out there on the edge. And as we close our time together, this is maybe my favorite thing to tell you, that each of you are, as Carl Sagan said, star stuff. That's right, 100% star stuff. From the iron in your blood, to the calcium in your teeth, to the carbon in your DNA, you are literally made from the very same elements that exist in the hearts of stars. What? That's right. You are a thermodynamic miracle. Take that in. The chances of you being you with your very own unduplicable, unrepeatable biological signature is something like 1 in 400 quadrillion. I mean, the probability of you being here is something like 10 to the power of never. And yet, here you are. So my question becomes this: what will you do with your one wild and wondrous life? What can you create or innovate or invent to make life better? That is your mission if you choose to accept it. I mean, feel all of that you're a thermodynamic miracle. Get this, we're related to each other biologically, to the earth chemically, and to the universe atomically. Come on and stand in your true magnificence. Let's make this planet an elsewhere available for all kinds of research and travel and exploration and innovation. You have the ability. You guys are the architects of the future, and I am counting on you to make it grand. So shine forth brightly for all the solar system to see. And remember this, again, you are 100% star stuff. Say it with me. I am star stuff. I am star stuff. Yes, you are. So let your minds revolve around this thought. The universe is always expanding. Let your minds do the same. And that's the view from Janet's planet. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned some things that maybe you didn't know before. I hope you were reminded about how truly grand you are. Truly, I believe you're the finest generation ever to exist, with all the power and mental ability to make this life better, grander, more peaceful, more equitable for all. And I can't wait to see all that you do. Let's see, I would love to stay for some questions. So let me see what you guys are sending me. Drop them in the chat. Thank you guys so much. We've got a few minutes. I don't want to pass anybody up. Many of you were having fun answering those questions in the chat. I super appreciated that. Brilliant, all of you. Oh, you totally know I would name a planet if my granddaughter or grandchild proposes one. Oh my gosh. You know what? I've told many of my students, so I'll say this to all of you. If anybody ever wants to name like a comet or an asteroid Janet's planet, I would be so honored. Probably my grandson Felix would want to name a planet Cheetah, because that's his favorite animal. I can already hear that. Oh yeah, you betcha. Thank you. Let's see. What other question here? So yes, indeed, I would super name. Oh, how would you name a planet? Well, first of all, you would most likely be on a committee, or maybe you would be the astronomer to discover it. If you read up on Clyde Tombaugh, he's got a fantastic story. He went on to find a lot of comets and asteroids, and he named almost everything he discovered after a family member. So you can name it after a family member. You could be on a large scientific committee. You could be part of a scientific team. But you know, there are many citizen science projects that you can join. NASA does it a lot, where you can participate in citizen science. You can do it through SLOOH, SLOOH, and look at a patch of sky. And if you discover something, guess what? The discoverer has a lot of say in how and what it is named. Oh, this is a great, okay, I have never discovered one, but like I said, if I ever discover a planet, I might name them, I'd have to name them something cool after all of my grandkids. So I'd have to find and discover at least 4 things. I love your question. Have I ever been to space? I have not, but I have flown aboard something called a microgravity flight, where basically the plane flies these things called parabolas, and it's basically they fly up at an angle. As the plane tops that curve, the pilots reverse the engine, so the plane is falling, everything inside the plane is falling, and you experience microgravity, what astronauts experience in space, for about 20 to 25 seconds, and it was fabulous. And today, actually, funny enough that you should ask if I have dreams of going to space, I actually turned in my NASA astronaut application. I am a second round citizen astronaut candidate for another group, so I might one day be able to take a suborbital flight. So I have had dreams of going to space since I was a kid, on the playground playing like we were blasting off. So how many of you guys have dreams of going to space? Ooh, a bunch of you. When do I believe humanity will get to Mars in the foreseeable future? I actually think I think if realistically, for a long time, 2033 was the goal. But again, humans are the most precious resource. We have rockets that can land rovers there. We have, the capability to get there. The question is, how do we land safely? Because the Martian atmosphere is so thin, so anything coming through is experiencing like 7 to 9 minutes of terror as it's trying to kind of, land properly. Certainly on the Perseverance rover, we learned things with the range trigger and the multiple kinds of like parachutes and heat shields that deployed, but we want to make it safe. My best guess is 2045. So that's what I'm hoping for. I would hope that it's sooner. But again, with some of these delays, and you can see, much like the James Webb Space Telescope, it was over budget, but look what it's giving us back and all that it's telling us about our amazing universe. So I'm hoping that countries will come together so that we can get to Mars sooner. My best guess and hope is 2045, but I think definitely by the 22nd century, humans will be there living and working. Well, thank you, Alina. And again, so many great people here on it. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, you can follow up with me at janet@janetsplanet.com. You can find me on my website, janetsplanet.com, and follow me on social media. I'd love to connect if I can help you at all. Mostly, I just want to encourage you. There is so much to be discovered. Please be the architects of the best future for all of us. We'll see you next time. All right. And that's the view from Janet's Planet, everybody.